A couple days after 6 workers died in Edwardsville, Illinois, it's come out since that they were made to work. I was just reading to the audience that one of the workers tragically, this is just horrific. Larry Verdon, who died, texted his girlfriend or wife, sorry, I don't know if they were married, Amazon won't let us leave.
Yeah.
And he died. There's also talk now that Amazon is re-implementing a phone ban where they won't let workers bring in their phone. Kind of important if there's a tornado and weather emergencies. Just your initial reaction to, these workers were made to work during a tornado. Amazon's trying to pretend there wasn't much of a warning, but there were warnings of this tornado for days.
Yeah. Amazon says themselves that workers need their phones only for emergency use only. So if you note that, then in pandemic or not, you need a situation in an emergency. And in these emergency situations, they continue to choose profit over people and capital and keep their workers there or have them there in the first place. If they knew there was going to be a storm that was going to be severe, shouldn't have had them there in the first place.
And by the way, you guys know this well. It wasn't a tornado, but they kept the warehouse open during Hurricane Ida, which ravaged New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, all parts of the Northeast. I got videos sent to me that water was coming through the front door, but they kept the warehouse open.
Yeah, a worker literally lost their car driving here for fear of losing their own job, risk their own car and livelihood just to get to work.
Well, just to set the record straight, the whole situation was horrible. There was no need for those people to be there. I feel that Amazon has done that when I was in the building as well. They've gathered us all together in supposedly a quote-unquote safe, secure area. But evidently that isn't, the truth of the matter. It's just horrifying. I think that all employees should be let home. The employees were trapped here during the flood earlier in the months out here this year.
Hurricane Ida,
enough is enough. And yes, we are against it, and we are in our own way protesting, towards what they're doing. Enough is enough. When do our lives matter first? When do the employees that slave and make Jeff all his money, when do their lives matter? And that's...
Right after this, actually, right after that tornado collapse where 6 workers died, Bezos sent another one of his space shuttles.
Yeah, he sends another space shuttle up to space. He's got Strahan on there, all these people, and it's usually it's all a publicity thing if you want to talk about the space thing to me.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because that isn't the first time you hear of an incident like that as far as workers having to come in during harsh weather. It's been happening since 2015. Every year that I can remember that it was a snowstorm or a hurricane, we still had to come in to work if it was our assigned day. So, the fact that this time it took multiple workers' lives, it just shows how greedy this corporation is. They'll do anything they can to get a dollar bill, even if it involves sacrificing their own workers' lives. And it's just really sad to see. And it just really makes us motivated more, as ALU, to continue our fight and make sure that we win this union. Because the fact that they have this this no cell phone policy, really it irks me, because a situation like that of a tornado, this poor worker just reaching out to his wife, just telling them, Amazon won't let me leave, and it's like almost a cry for help. And there was no alternative for him, and it's just so sad.
You were made to work during Hurricane Ida, during snowstorms. What's your reaction to, what honestly sounds kind of scandalous?
It's anybody who's worked here long enough when there's been hazardous weather knows that they never close this building. Doesn't matter how bad the weather is. So I've driven to work in blizzards where I can't even see out my front window. In August, we had those 2 hurricanes back to back, and I wasn't affected, thankfully, but there are people I know who, they lost everything in that storm, and they still had to come to work the next day through these flooded roads. I know a manager whose car was flooded, and he couldn't even get to work, but they still made everybody come in, and it's part of their whole, we can never shut down, especially not during peak. They got to make money, and it doesn't really matter what we have to say about it. We have no power in that.
Peak's the holiday season?
Yes.
Let me ask you, right now there's been a lot of focus put back on the fact that they're trying to re-implement a phone ban where workers can't have their phones. Kind of important to have your phones to get updates on tornadoes, hurricanes, a pandemic. Can you kind of talk about, it seems like they've been trying to loosen COVID restrictions and re-implement pre-pandemic things like a phone ban.
Yeah, so before COVID, you couldn't have your cell phone in the building. You had to leave it in your car or in a locker. And during the pandemic, there's a lot of people. Number one, the turnover is so high here that there's people who work here with their phones and they don't even know what it's like to not have their phone in there. Yeah, so this whole pandemic, we've had our phones, and we still broke records in this building. We're like the top performing building in the network, and across Amazon, Amazon is still outperforming expectations. Their stock price is still going up, and the thing is, they would like this to be like a prison. You come in and you're pretty much disconnected from the outside world. But people are really accustomed now to the fact that they can have their phones, they can connect with their families on the outside. If there's an emergency, they have their phone with them. And they don't have to be completely disconnected from everybody for their 10 or 12-hour shift.
One more time, we don't get it. Shut it down. Let me hear you. We don't get it. Shut it down. Let me fight it for cell phone.